They even dropped the armed robbery because the amount of money that the two people said that was taken from them, Marchello wasn't even found with that amount of money. Even the judge burst out and said, oh, you can't, how you gonna charge him with robbery? And the money don't even line up. You can't charge him with robbery. And the state went on, oh, blah, blah, blah. And the judge was like, look, you can't charge him with robbery. The money ain't the same. Hey, what's up, guys? If y'all can see how I got this rigged up, but we out of Vlogmas, so no more of that crazy stuff. It's still going on. You just ain't finna see it right now. I probably will do some other vlogs and stuff, you know, just to keep you up to date. I did do something to my hair. See, something. It ain't great, but did something. Y'all see how I usually be rocking it. But okay, so for real, it is January 2021. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that we are in this year 2021. Oh my gosh. And when I think about it, a very significant year in my life was 2001. And that year was just so crazy. It was so much going on. That was the year that I had my daughter, and that was the year that Marchello got into all of this trouble. That was the main. It was like I had all this greatness. Like, it was so much joy when I had her, and it was so much emotions just balled up inside of me. It felt like it was burning my insides. I couldn't believe that I could love another human so much, and that I had her with another human that I just, oh my God, it was so perfect. I mean, you couldn't even wrote a more perfect story. And my perfect story was the pages was ripped up to shreds, and it's like my life been a downhill spiral ever since. I mean, I really never, and that's what I told him today, told Marchello today. I never would have told you, or could have thought that my life would end up where it is now. So I want to, in 2021, my new theme is going to be finish what I started. It's so much unfinished business that I have, unfinished thoughts, unfinished projects, unfinished everything. My life is unfinished. So we're going to be finishing things up. So with the YouTube, I think that I want to take it to a different level. Who knows? I think I was focusing. I really thought my YouTube would get big within 2020, and I could start telling Marchello's story and more people can hear it, because I feel like it's time for him to come home. He's been gone for a long time. I mean, if you know they wanted to say this robbery took place, then honestly it seems like he's done enough time for that. So whether he was guilty or not guilty, then I mean, come on now, please. Like, but it's hard to like I say, I'm slowly but surely getting the story out, but the thing is, it feels like I'm running out of time. Life is so uncertain. I don't know how long I'm going to be here to be able to tell his story. And if I'm not telling his story, what happens? I mean, before I take my last breath, the last breath that I breathe on this earth, I want to see him free. That possibly might be too much to ask for, but that's like my wish. So I'm finna tell some stories that I never really told, except for like to people close to me. So in 2001, I had my daughter, and everything was perfect, like I was mentioning before. And I had her in June, so come August, I mean, we were trying to find places so that we could actually move out. I was still living with my mother and father, and he was living with his grandmother. And we wanted to, move in together. We wanted to get married. My daughter took both names. She took his name and my last name, because it was like a conflict between my dad was like, no, y'all ain't married, so she's not taking his name. And then he's like, no, my daughter's gonna have my name. So my daughter ends up with 2 last names. It was crazy. So all that was finna be rectified. We were gonna find us a place to stay. We were gonna get financially stable and, move on with life. Like, this was the love of my life. Like, I had been in love before, but not like this. And never with someone that was so attentive. This man, if y'all could meet him, I wish you really could just meet him. Then you would know I'm not just hyping him up. He's really that considerate, that compassionate, it's just really not even no words. But so August, I was doing my cousin's hair. It was the day before school. And I'm gonna just tell a little bit of this, but this gonna have its own story time. But I just want to tell this story. I don't know, I just have it in my heart to tell this one first, which I don't know what logic that is. But it was the day before school. I was always good at doing hair. I used to braid, and I would do like everybody around my city's hair. Like, my hair was crazy back then. It was always not one hair out of place. Y'all see me now, I'm nothing. I'm like a shell of who I was. Unless you knew me back then, you can look and say, hey, that's not Keita. That's not the Keita I know. That's because I'm in this deep, dark fog that I want to be free of. I'm not the Keita you know. I'm not the Keita I knew. Like, I want to be her again. Like, not one hair could be out of place. Not one nail could be like peeling or chipping. My clothes was always on point. And as you see, it ain't like that no more. I'm not even that person anymore. But I was doing my cousin's hair before school. And Marchello had just, we had that day, we ended up going to that day. Yeah, it was August. So we went to the movies. It was a place called, I can't even remember what they were called. Oh my gosh, Point Orlando. We went to the movies at Point Orlando. And we really used to go to a movie theater they called Movies 12 back then. But he wanted to go to Port Orlando. He always wanted to take me on dates. Like, money was no object to him. Like, he blew money. And I was always still conservative back then. I didn't want him spending money on me, but he insisted. So he wanted to go to Point Orlando for the movies. After the movie, I did his hair. Oh shoot. It's been so long. I may have done his hair first. But Marchello had dreads. He had the most beautiful dreads. Marchello was so gorgeous, like, for real. And he had these beautiful dreads. And they were kind of thick, and it was hard to braid them. Like, a lot of people couldn't braid. Back then, people didn't braid dreads down. But Marchello would like to wear his dreads like back in cornrows. So, by me being this excellent braider, I was able to grip his hair and get his hair to manipulate into those cornrows. And I did his hair. We went to the movies. We spent the whole evening together. And they kept saying that he was getting phone calls to come downtown. The downtown area was where, his cousins had lived. And he would go to his female cousin's house and babysit and be down there and stuff. So anyways, before I dropped Marchello up, now I'm gonna tell you, I got mad. I said, well, you going downtown? Like, why? Because I wanted to go to Movies 12 by where we lived. I did not want to go to Port Orlando. And I'm like, yeah, you trying to go to Port Orlando because I know you trying to end up at your cousin's house. And at that time, I was like, you need to be staying home. Just stay home. Just stay home. You need to stay home. Like, for real, stay home. You had a baby. We need to be trying to work, get things together so we can move out and this and this and that. But, you know, he was young, 18 at the time. And he just didn't want to stay home all the time. And it wasn't the best home life. I mean, he was living with his grandmother here. And I don't know. He said it wasn't the best, you know. So he wanted to live. I mean, he wanted to get out of the house and get away from there. And he found more comfort being downtown with his cousin at his cousin's house. So I didn't want him down there because it wasn't the best neighborhood. So I said, Marchello, look, I'm going to drop you off one time. This is it. I'm not dropping you off no more. Ever. Like, for real, I'm not dropping you back off downtown. I wouldn't even drop him off downtown. I didn't drop him off downtown. I had got him a bike. I bought him a bike. It was cool though, because that bike, man, I was always the artist. I painted, I got the bike. That's crazy. I got the bike from the thrift store, but I had detail painted it for him and stuff. So I gave him a bike, and so I dropped him and his bike off to maybe 10 to 15 minutes from where he was trying to go at his cousin's house. And I dropped him off on the corner, and he rode his bike the rest of the way. Okay, so before he gets out the car, he was like, I'll call you later. And let me tell you, Marchello would never, if he told you he gonna call you, he's gonna call you. He is not a liar. I've never known him to be a liar. And his word is bond. His word is bond. He say he gonna call me, he's gonna call me. So I'm doing my cousin's hair, and it's getting late. Like, you know, all them little braids, that takes hours, and hours had passed, and I hadn't got Marchello's call. And I'm like, what the heck going on? What's going on? Okay, I'm not gonna worry. I said, I'm not gonna worry. Went to sleep. Finished my cousin's hair, went to sleep. The next day, I get a call, and it's an unknown number, and it's Marchello, and he's crying. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he's like crying. He's like, this red band on my arm. And I'm like, what red band? What do you mean a red band? What does the red band say? He said, it says life or death. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What? I don't understand. And that was when this whole freaking nightmare began. That day this nightmare began. I'm going to tell stories leading up to this, but I don't know why it's on my heart to just tell the story of going to court with him. Marchello, his case is a robbery case, attempted robbery. And if you know anything about the legal system, one act can get you a mountain of charges. Every little thing they put as a felony charge. Like they throwing them out. Like they throwing out books. That's how they giving out them felony charges. So it's really robbery, attempted robbery, which I'll get deeper into the case, because it's a lot of inconsistencies that it just don't even make no sense. So they stacked up all these charges, and they told him, they kept trying to give him a plea bargain of 17 years. So starting out, when they put Marchello away, he had no bond. I got his bond because I got him a paid lawyer. But I was working at a super center. No, I didn't even work at a super center. They made more money. I worked at a regular grocery store, and I think I made $5.15 an hour. I had a newborn baby. Well, she was a couple months old now, and he worked. He was working at, where was he working there? I think he was working for like a temp agency, but he did some type of, no. He worked at Waffle House. He was working at the Waffle House, and he had left the Waffle House, and I think that's when he started working for that temp agency or whatever. So we barely had 2 dimes to rub together. And my mother was not the type that just gave you money like that. She wanted you to work. She worked. She comes from the ghetto in Chicago, Illinois. She worked her way all the way down to Florida. And back then, it was a nice neighborhood. We ain't gonna say it's as nice now. But from her going from the ghetto to living good, and she wanted her children to work just as hard. So she didn't hand me nothing. She made me work and go get it myself. So we barely made money. And so kind of lost my train of thought. What the heck was I talking about? What the? Let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I got him a paid lawyer, and it actually was money that donations, like everything that I had got from having my daughter, I put all that money together, and I was able to get him the paid lawyer, and the lawyer was able to get him a bond because they had set him away with no bond. A miracle happened, and he was actually able to get out on bond. We actually did not have the collateral. We did not have actually even the bond money. I used a credit card, but I was willing to put myself all the way in debt to get him home. And that's what happened. So he got home. He was out on house arrest for a little less than a year. And that's when by being on house arrest, I guess he had lost his job, and we were looking for jobs. We were consistently looking for jobs. Though I had a job, it wasn't enough to support all of us. He was looking for jobs, and I was looking for better jobs. So, while, looking for a job, he would take care of our daughter, and it's even times I would get off of work, and I would see he had tried to, gel her hair up into little ponytails. She had the big round fat cheeks, and he would just put her hair up in the little ponytails and cook for her. He was so in love with his daughter, and he still is. This boy, oh my God. He is so in love with his daughter, and she know it, and she play on that stuff. But yeah, like he would take care of her and this and that, and we would go to, well, needless to say, I couldn't afford to keep the paid lawyer, so I was able to get him out on bond. But to go to trial, we had to end up using a public defender, which this man said he's not even really a public defender. He told me that he told us that he is a crime specialist because there was a conflict of interest. The second perpetrator in the incident, which I will get into that another time, not even right now, but they gave them both from what we were told, they gave them both the same public defender. And the public defender said, because this person is on that side of the crime and Marchello is on this side of the crime, saying, you know, they have conflicting stories, the public defender cannot defend both. So that's when this guy comes in, and he's this crime specialist, and he tells us how he defends a man where there's blood here, blood there, blood everywhere, and he was able to get him off, and it was all this evidence, and he was able to free him. And we're like, well, maybe this, you know, always trying to find the hope. Maybe this is, you know, we don't have the public defender. We got a crime specialist, and he's going to help us. And that man, it was not on his agenda to help us at all. He didn't care anything. There was so many things, evidence that we gave him of how Marchello had nothing to do with it. And we had all types of evidence. They wouldn't pull surveillance cameras so Marchello could prove where he was. They wouldn't do nothing. They had already told us they didn't have Marchello's fingerprints. They didn't have nothing. They even said Marchello could say he's not at the scene of the crime because they don't have anything tangible linking him to it. Now, you this crime specialist, that blood here, blood here, blood everywhere, and you got that man off. But this man, you ain't got no type of evidence. They ain't got no evidence against him. How do you, being this crime specialist, not get Marchello off? So, we young. Marchello's 18. I'm 19. By the time I had my daughter, I'm sorry. By the time I had my daughter, I'm 20, and Marchello is 19. He's 19 years old. And they wanted to give him boot camp. They was like, this is crazy. Nobody that doesn't have a record just jumps out and commits robbery and attempted robbery and stuff like that. Like, let's just get him boot camp and this and that. And the judge was like, no, we're not going for that. But I went a little bit too far ahead of myself. So what I really wanted to talk about was court date. They had Marchello's trial sentence for a specific day, and nobody showed up but me and Marchello. Nobody showed up. It was, the victims didn't show up, the people that were said to be robbed, and they didn't show up. Nobody showed up. It was just me and Marchello. So we sat there like hours and stuff. So finally the lawyer comes out, the crime specialist. He comes out, Marchello's lawyer, and he's like, well, nobody showed up and there's nobody to hold the charges against you. So really they're supposed to let you go. But instead, the judge is going to continue the case, and he's gonna set another trial date. And we're like, so what does that mean? And they're like, well, if they don't come again, we have to drop all charges on Marchello because there's nobody to press the charges against him. So Marchello's crime specialist, great, spectacular lawyer, says, but wait, I'm going to try to go out of town, because the people that said they were robbed after this happened, they moved to 2 different cities. There was 2 people. They didn't want nothing to do with this case, this crime, nothing. They moved. One moved over here, one moved over here, and it was nowhere near Florida. And Marchello's crime specialist says he's going to go out of town and see if he can get them to come here. I don't understand how that was in Marchello's interest when you just told us that you have to let him go if nobody shows up. So we met with him and thing is, we met with the crime specialist. He was out in a really like up. It was a area known for a lot of rich people hanging out. He was out in an area they call Winter Park, prominent area. And me and Marchello was like, yeah, we done, you know, we're able to finally, you know, he's gonna get us there. He's gonna defend you. But I don't know, I guess it was our young, naive minds. We didn't catch any of these clues that this man is not working for us. He's working against us. So I would go to, every time, I always had my daughter, my little daughter. I used to hold her up under my arm and stuff. I have her, and she'd be crawling up under the little table and crawling up the lawyer's leg, pulling on his leg and stuff. I'm like, stop, money, stop pulling up on him like that. Or she'll be sitting on the table while we're talking about his case and stuff. And he's like, oh, don't worry, she's fine, ma'am. So we're thinking everything is good. We met several times, and when it came down to where it was almost time for that second trial, that second one that they set, we meet with the lawyer. Marchello was gone. He was on edge. He was snappy. He was everything. It was like he couldn't, because you don't know if you can plan your life or just forget your life, because you don't know what's going to happen. So they offered Marchello a plea of 17 years. And the lawyer, Marchello's lawyer, was like, are you going to take the 17 years? And Marchello was like, no, I can't take 17 years for something I didn't do. 17 years? Realize this man, Marchello, was only 19. Do you know what 17 years sounds like to a 19-year-old? We couldn't even fathom that. He says, are you going to take the charges? He says, are you going to take the plea? And Marchello was like, I can't take a plea for something I didn't do. And he was like, listen, Marchello, let me explain something to you. You have about a 5% chance of winning, because they were able to get one of the victims to testify against you. And testimony and an eyewitness is like, you have no way of winning. He said, Marchello, you got about a 5% chance of winning. And I wish we had took that cue right then. You have about 5% chance of winning. And Marchello was like, I can't take 17 years for something I didn't do. Look at it. This boy, he was 19. He just had a baby. 17 years. And that baby was latched on, attached to him. Attached. And you telling him to take 17 years, and she'll be 19 when he comes home? I'm sorry, not 19. My math off. Ooh, boy. She'll be about 18 when he comes home. That's what you're telling him. And he's like, I can't do that. I can't take 17 years for something I didn't do. He comes back and he's like, listen, Marchello. Like, listen, Linda. Listen, Marchello. Let's say this. Pretend I was your doctor. These are the words he said, exact words. I always remember them. He said, pretend I was your doctor and you had a cancer in your arm. And if you did not cut off your arm, and you would die if you didn't cut your arm off. And if I was your doctor and I didn't advise you to cut your arm off and you died, what type of doctor would I be? He said, Marchello, you have 5% chance of winning. Cut your arm off. Cut it off. So that you can live. And he was like, are you gonna take the plea? Marchello said, no, I can't take 17 years for something I didn't do. He said, all right then, kiss your daughter goodbye. Kiss your daughter goodbye. That was our last meeting, his last words to Marchello. Kiss your daughter goodbye. Yeah. And that day, oh my God, when we showed up to court, remember I said that they said, the lawyer, the specialist said that he was going out of town to try to see if he can get one of them to come. Well, they had moved to 2 different places, and he told us that one was willing to come. When we actually showed up to court, it was 2. 2 showed up. And one was like fidgety. He was like jumpy, like just jumping, and like that's how he was, honestly, that's how he was acting. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, they put them in the courtroom at different times, and I didn't understand the reason they do it. Now I watch so much investigation Discovery, and I've been through this and all these little communities. I know why they do it now, because they don't want you to hear what the other one said. And they clearly answered the questions much differently. Their stories didn't line up at all. The 2 people that were robbed, their stories didn't line up. They had conflicting stories. And it was pointed out when the lawyer would know that when there's something said that the other person didn't say, he would ask them again, and he would come back and give the same testimony. The police, I believe it's so long ago, it's very hard for me to remember, but I write everything down, so I possibly have wrote it down somewhere. But I think it was 3 police, and they all had different testimonies as well. Their testimonies didn't even line up. So we found people caught in lies. I witnessed that, them being caught in lies. They tried to lie, but then after cross-examining, it was determined that's a lie. That's not even. They even dropped the armed robbery because the amount of money that the 2 people said that was taken from them, Marchello wasn't even found with that amount of money. Even the judge burst out and said, oh, you can't, how you gonna charge him with robbery? And the money don't even line up. You can't charge him with robbery. And the state went on, oh, blah, blah, blah. And the judge was like, look, you can't charge him with robbery. The money ain't the same. What did he do with the rest of the money then? The money ain't even matching up. And she was like, blah, 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 blah. And then she said, oh, he tried to rob them. He tried. So the judge says, okay, you can pick it up as attempted robbery. It was so much that did not line up. So I'm witnessing this, and I'm like, oh my God, yes. Marchello is coming home after this trial is over. They lying, they finding them in different lies. Their stories ain't lining up. They this. And I'm like, yes, he's coming home. When we went on recess, oh my gosh, before recess, before Marchello even went to court, we stopped at the 7-Eleven on the corner, which is so ironic. That 7-Eleven had this big sign. It was a big sign, billboard that said 1020 life. Florida had just rolled out all these tough on gun charges. 1020 life. Commit a crime with a gun, you get 10 years. If you pull the gun, 20 years. If it's shot, anybody's hurt, anything, you get life. Had a big old billboard. And I looked up at that thing right before I even took him to trial. And I remember that day because we had what they called 7-Eleven had a hot dog combo. It was a drink and a hot dog. And that's what we ate on our way to court. And that's what we ate on our way to court. We go to court. And do you know, after that trial, I held on to that box that he ate out of that hot dog thing for the longest. His cup. I held on to all of that for a long time. So we looking at all that and we're like, yeah, he's coming home. He's coming home. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Like, this really just worked out. And this was just something that was just going to make us stronger. We were going to be good. He was getting out of this. And at the last recess, the lawyer, specialist, whatever, he was like, you know, if you're convicted, do you want to be sentenced today or do you want a sentencing date? And we're like, what's that? Like, well, a sentencing date, if you're convicted, then you can get people to give you character statements and they can talk about this and that and things you do and possibly get your charges, not your charges, your time lowered. And he was like, I'm like, why does it matter? He's going home. We going home. So during Marchello told him he wanted the sentencing date. Okay, but we going home. That's what we got in our mind. We going home. So it was the last recess, and he was like, "You want to go out there with your girlfriend? You want to go out there with her?" And we're like, "Well, can we just get this, sentencing over?" He's like, "No, go spend some time with her." And we're just sitting there. I'm like, "Marchello, you coming home like this?" They up there lying. They getting caught in their lies on the stand. And there's no way. There's no way. So they come back and court, readjourns and everything. And they come back with a verdict. Actually, when they finished, the jury had questions. They had 2 questions. The first question, which I'm going to get into it because I want to tell the whole story. I don't know how much longer I can be here. So I got to get this story out of me and on YouTube so it lives past me. It lives when I'm gone. It's still here. And the fight for him will continue. So they was like, they had 2 questions. The first question, the judge said, "I'm not answering that." The second question, the jury asked could they get a copy of the transcript because they wanted to go over a few things. And the judge said, a copy of the transcript. I swear to you, this is how this man said this. And this is etched in my mind. I remember this like this was yesterday. But now we're looking at it. It was 20 years ago. 2021. This was 2001. He said, what? What do they need the transcript for? What were they just doing? Were they not listening this whole time through trial? What do they need the transcript for? Oh my God, what did they even come for? He said, all right, they can get the transcript. They got, just let them know they got to come back tomorrow. I kid you not, that deliberation was short-lived. It was not hours. It may have been an hour. At most, it probably was an hour. They came back with guilty. They was told that the instructions were that they never found the gun that they said Marchello had. Never found it. I honestly, in my heart, believe they found it, but I believe it turns up evidence that is not in their favor. That's why they would rather say they don't have it than to say they got it. I bet you his fingerprints ain't on that gun. I can guarantee that. Bet you fingerprints ain't even on that gun. But they say they don't have the gun. That's very hard to believe. They don't have the gun. But they said to the jury, if you believe there was no gun, you can charge him without the gun. Being charged with robbery without a gun is substantially less time. Substantially less time. The weight on Marchello's charge, all them charges they got, each one, what makes each charge more is the gun. The gun is what makes it more. So they were instructed that they can charge him without it because the gun was never found. They come back, charge 1 in the highest with the gun, charge 2 in the highest with the gun, charge 3 in the highest with the gun, charge 4 in the highest with the gun, charge 5 in the highest with the gun, charge 6 in the highest with the gun. Charge 1, 40 years. Charge 2, 40 years. Charge 3, 40 years. Charge 4, 40 years. Charge 5, 30 years. That's for the attempted. They knocked off 10 for the attempted. Charge 6, 30 years. Gavel hit that dang on desk and that was it. Marchello cried out. He said, can I just hug her, please? That's when the bailiffs, they putting his arms behind his back and pulling him. And he's like, please, can I just give her a hug? Can I just give her a hug? And he was like, no, you're going with us. And they pulled him out the courtroom. Oh my God. Do you know, as I sat there, I don't even think I heard all the charges because as I sat there, I couldn't hold it in. I was crying. My daughter didn't come because they didn't allow babies or children in the courtroom. So I was there by myself. And I'm just like, just trying to hold all these tears, all this emotion. You just took my heart. You really, you just took my heart. All these emotions, I'm holding them in, and I'm trying to, but I can't. They coming out, and I'm like, like this, like making noises like that. And the judge was like, ma'am, you got to be quiet, or I'm going to hold you in contempt of the court. I couldn't hold it in. You took my heart, for real? And you talking about 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. 30, 30? What the heck? Really? Actually, I'm sorry. That day, we didn't know. Oh, I jumped ahead. I'm so sorry. That was sentencing day. That was sentencing day. So we didn't know the 40, 40, 40. But in the charges, we did know charge 1, guilty in the highest. Charge 2, guilty. We knew all of that. But we didn't know the time, the amount. But all I know is you took him. You took him from me. He's gone. And all he asked for was a hug. That's all I remember. Can I just hug her before one more time? No, you coming with us. So the judge was like, look, if you can't be quiet, ma'am, you're going to be held in contempt of court. So I jumped up. I ran out the courtroom. I bust the doors open. And I remember we were up. I don't even know what floor we were on. But I just made my way, just running down the escalator, just running and crying. And I'm like, and people, I remember a lady and several other people. Can I help you, ma'am? Are you okay? Get off of me. Just get off of me. Leave me alone. It's nothing you can do. You can't help me. Leave me alone. As I'm fighting them off of me, I go outside the courtroom, and it's on a main highway. Like downtown Orlando. I used to hate to go down there because everything is one-way street. It was a one-way street that went across the front of the courtroom. And I laid in the street. I laid down in the street. I wasn't in the middle of the street, but I was like off like in that far lane that, because it was only one-way traffic, the traffic would have been on that side of the street. And I laid across that first lane, just laid in the street. I just laid there. I couldn't believe. And I didn't care at that moment what happened to me. That you took my heart. What more can you take? And I laid there in the street. I didn't get up until, I don't even know how long it was that I just laid there, just crying. And I finally got up when I seen that crime specialist, that lawyer, come out that courtroom. He came out, and I jumped up, and I started walking towards him. And before I even had anything come out my mouth, he said, "Keita," or Miss Dixon. He probably called me Miss Dixon. "Do you know why they sentenced him?" I said, "Yeah, because he's black." And he said, "Yeah, honestly, that's the only reason." He said, "Now you got to get somebody that is going to fight for his life. You're going to have to get an appeal at this point. And you're going to have to find an attorney that's going to fight for his life." And from that point, when he told me that, and that's when it was coming up on sentencing date, and he was like, "I'm going to tell you, the judge ain't going to go no less than 17 years. He ain't going no less than 17 years. So try to get character witnesses together. I couldn't get nobody. From the beginning of this fight, I ain't had no backing. I'm just now, thank God, whoever is backing me now, thank you guys. Thank you that God put y'all in my life, because I have never really had no backing on this issue. I couldn't get nobody to write. I think I was the only one who wrote a character witness for him. His baby mama. Yeah. That day was crazy. And the thing was, I had a tattoo. Oh, can I show it? Yeah, the "I'm his." That's the only tattoo I got to this day. "I'm his." I got "I'm his," and he got "I'm hers." And my mother was like, she didn't play that. So when I got a tattoo, I hid that thing from her for like a long time. When he was out on that house arrest, that's when we went one day and got tattoos. And he got "I'm his." He got "I'm hers," and I got "I'm his." And I hid it from my mother. I would always put on a long sleeve shirt. Anytime I was going somewhere, it'd be hot. We in Florida, it's hot. It's hot. Ooh, that's my little rapping voice. It's hot. It's hot here. I would have on a jacket because I was hiding it from my mother. But that day, when they took it, and I snapped back to my mind, like my mind was gone. You took my heart. You took it. You took it. So I was out of it. I was gone. I didn't know where my car was. I don't even know where I parked. I have no clue. I don't know what was what. So I had to call my mama, and my mama picked me up that day. She picked me up. I had on a sleeveless shirt, and that day I really didn't care. That's how she found out I had my tattoo. She seen it that day. There was no words. Honestly, you would have thought somebody died. You would have thought somebody died. The dress that I wore to court, I laid down in that dress and almost for a week. Really, I don't know no real time frames, but I know daytime came, sun went up, sun went down. I just laid in that bed, sun went up, sun went down, sun went up, sun went down, and I was still in the same clothes, just laying in the bed, just laying there. And my mother told me, she said, well, Keita, you just got to move on. My mama was tough. It was her famous words to me that I remember was, Keita, that's life. I didn't understand it then, but now I understand that. That's life. Figure that shit out. Figure it out.